new republic begins in 1789 with the election of George Washington as our first president. He serves until 1797 when John Adams is elected, who then serves until 1801. In 1789, James Madison writes and passes the Bill of Rights, which outlines the basic rights of our citizens. Shortly after, the Judiciary Act of 1789 established our Supreme Court. In 1791, the U.S. created its national bank. In Washington's farewell address, he urged against foreign alliances. The Convention of 1800 heeded Washington's warnings and annulled foreign alliances with France. The important people of this time include James Madison, the author of the Bill of Rights, Alexander Hamilton, who created the National Bank and served as Secretary of Treasury, John Jay, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Marshall, who handled the XYZ affair, Thomas Jefferson, the Secretary of State, and Henry Knox, the Secretary of War. This time period was essential to the foundation of the United States in determining the power of the nation's executive, establishing an economy, and defining foreign policy. The Jeffersonian democracy began in 1801 with the election of Thomas Jefferson, who served until 1809. Then James Madison from 1809 to 1817, and James Monroe from 1817 to 1825. In 1803, Robert Livingston negotiated the purchase of the Louisiana Territory for $15 million. In 1812, America declared war on Britain. The Treaty of Ghent created a ceasefire in 1814. The Monroe Doctrine was written by James Monroe and outlawed European expansion to America starting in 1823. Henry Clay developed the American system in 1824 with three key aspects: a strong banking system, a protective tariff, and a network of roads and canals. The important people of this time period include Napoleon Bonaparte, the French leader from whom the U.S. purchased the Louisiana Territory, Robert Livingston, who negotiated the Louisiana Purchase, Lewis and Clark, who explored the new land west, Andrew Jackson, who defended New Orleans, Henry Clay in developing the American system, John Marshall, who strengthened the Supreme Court and established judicial review. This era contained monumental American endeavors such as vastly increasing the nation's land with Louisiana Purchase, as well as a prosperous economy accredited to the American system. Additionally, there was a time of political peace called the Era of Good Feelings and patriotic fights for one's country. The Jacksonian democracy begins in 1825 with the election of John Quincy Adams. He serves until 1829, then Andrew Jackson leads from 1829 to 1837, followed by Martin Van Buren from 1837 to 1841. Congress passed the Indian Removal Act in 1830, thus causing the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears is when the Indians were forcefully moved to the Oklahoma area and endured a horrific travel. In 1833, Jackson ended the National Bank, and in 1836, Texas declared its independence. At this time, the Democrats and Whigs emerged as the nation's two dominant political parties. The important people during this time were Henry Clay as Secretary of State and in enacting the Tariff of 1833, Denmark Wesley, the leader of slave rebellions, John C. Calhoun with the South Carolina Exposition, Nicholas Biddle as president of the National Bank, Santa Anna as the president of Mexico, and Sam Houston as Texas's commander-in-chief. This era is important because it is a period of time when America underwent many changes. Not only do we establish the National Bank, but also prepare our nation's land expansion with the Indian Removal Act and Texas independence. The period of manifest destiny began in 1841 with William H. Harrison as president, then John Tyler from 1841 to 1845, then James K. Polk from 1845 to 1849, then Zachary Taylor from 1849 to 1850, then Millard Fillmore from 1850 to 1853, then Franklin Pierce from 1853 to 1857, and finally James Buchanan from 1857 to 1861. Manifest destiny is defined as the 19th century doctrine or belief that the expansion of the U.S. throughout the American continents was both justified and inevitable. Texas was admitted as a state in 1845, and in 1846, America declared war with Mexico. In 1848, gold is found in California, and the Californian gold rush ensues. The Compromise of 1850 admits California as a slave state. The important people at this time include Daniel Webster as Secretary of State, Robert J. Walker as Secretary of Treasury, General Zachary Taylor for initiating war with Mexico, Generals Stephen W. Kearny and Winfield Scott, Nicholas P. Treese with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo for which ended war with Mexico, Harriet Tubman with the Underground Railroad, and William H. Seward, who was the Senator of New York. This is an era of time when, in my opinion, America becomes a nation to be reckoned with. We gain large amounts of territory and even more citizens, and prove ourselves capable of withstanding our neighbors to the south.